Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hull and Back podcast, sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Pearson's Bar. I'm your host, Ant Northgraves, and this episode I'm joined by William Young and Nathaniel Whitter. How are we doing, guys?
Good evening. Well,
Will, how are you feeling?
Splendid.
Good word.
Yeah, getting his semantics out on us. It's going to be a bit of a bumper episode today. Discussing, obviously, we've got the 3-2 win over Coventry at the MKM, the pretty poor defeat at QPR. We'll have a brief look at, obviously, the Sheffield United game coming up on the weekend. It's going to be a big one. And then we'll also probably talk quite a bit about transfers because we've had a very busy transfer window and we've been quite busy today. And obviously,
we're down Traore away.
Yeah.
Finally got Traore.
Yeah. Obviously, but before we head into any sort of Hull City chat, you can still vote for us at the Football Content Awards. The vote is still open. It closes on the 19th of September for the initial round. Obviously, announcing the finalists on that day. If we've made it into the finalists, it would be open again for you to vote for us to try and win outright. But if anybody who has voted for us, thank you. Continue to do so. You can vote by Twitter, Instagram, or on the website itself. You can head to the link tree if you want to get a bit more detail about it. So obviously, before we chat about the Coventry game, I think it's worth noting that we'll go straight into it. We'll leave transfers till the end. We'll go to Coventry first. So obviously 3-2. Yeah. 3 out of 3 wins at home. The home form and the away form seems to be a big stark contrast at the minute. But a decent performance overall. Well, you was there, weren't you? So what was your thoughts on the game as a whole?
It was a great game to watch. I think if you was a neutral, you'd have really liked the game. Both teams had plenty of chances, I would argue. Both teams pretty much put away all the big chances they had, actually, as well, to be fair. A couple of moments where we looked a bit dodgy. But for the most part, I thought we deserved the win. And Big Oscar, setting the challenge out to Erling Haaland, which he proceeded to take very well. All in all, a good 3 points.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, so the home form last season was quite a bit of an issue. Towards the end, I think it swapped, didn't it? We were really good away from home and really poor at home, but then it swapped towards the end.
Since Shotta came in, it's improved.
Yeah, so that sort of vein of form's continued into this season. Do we think what do we put obviously the home form down to? Is it literally just a case of fans coming back, mood being lifted, that kind of thing, or is it just the teams we've been playing home and away, difference in ability kind of thing? What would you think on that, Nathaniel?
Well, I disagree that the home form improved when Shotta came in because we won the first game against Swansea and then we didn't score in like the next 6. I think it flipped towards the end of last season when we were pretty much safe. Like we were struggling for points at home and then we won, against Coventry and Middlesbrough, and then we were able to relax a bit. We've had that game in the away kit and the blackout kit against Cardiff, which we won, and then that sort of switched the form around. So I mean, that's 5 wins and a draw from last season at home in our last 6 games. So I guess the attendances have helped this season. There's a great atmosphere around the club, and that's going to help us. And especially when we've been hanging on to leads in the last few minutes against Norwich and Coventry more recently. I don't know why the away form's so bad, especially last year. You would have thought it would have started well at home and been poor away, but I guess the new players, although I mean a lot of them weren't involved against QPR, so there's no excuse there. The new players, maybe it's more of a hostile atmosphere away from home, but like the only real new signings there were Oscar and Tete against QPR, and then Figueiredo should be fine because he's been in the Championship, he's gone to these grounds before. So I don't know. I can't really understand why the away form's bad, but the home form, yeah, it's great. It's the MKM's been made into a fortress, and long may that continue.
Yeah, especially important when considering the Sheffield United game is going to be at home. That'll be a real test because they're obviously going to be, up there in contenders this season from what we've seen so far. So obviously the big one, Oscar's hat-trick. The guy's got 7 goals already this season, which by recent years is phenomenal for us, because we don't normally have strikers that reach 7, let alone at this stage of the season. But he's not going to be one of those strikers, is he, that's going to get, 30-yard thunder bastards, I don't think, but he's going to be one of these into you. He's obviously going to be a goal poacher who's there in the right place at the right time. He's all of his goals so far have been very reactionary.
Well, yeah,
sort of readjusting his body.
He's not Robert Corran.
He's not Robert Corran, no, but he is very
about 6 yards out combined. His goals have been from.
Yeah, we should get.
That's a bit of an exaggeration, but it was against Coventry, especially.
He's a proper goal scorer. He's a proper like the Lineker sort of striker, where he's in the right place at the right time.
And you can't really teach that or train that. You've just got it. And imagine how good he's going to be with proper service. Because I guess we've obviously been getting the ball into the right areas for him to score this many. But at the moment, playing Tete, who's done a good job at left wing, but is a striker. That's not his main role. And they have been a bit scrappy, but he should be scoring a lot. And it shows he can score when we're having a tough period as well, without a lot of the ball. So he should be, even better, hopefully, quite soon, with better service.
Yeah, he's just one of those strikers in here that knows where to be at the right time. That whole POMO, the position of maximum opportunity thing, he's obviously a player that tries to mould himself on that style. And I think from the games that I've watched him, he won't be far off getting these goals where he's running in behind and getting one-on-one with the keeper and putting them in, kind of thing. He's just waiting, obviously, for when we get players like Tufan and then back who can play these passes in behind. He'll be getting these kind of goals as well, which is obviously just going to mean really good news for us, because he's going to be scoring these slight tap-ins in the box, but he's also going to offer a different dimension as well, because especially at the QPR game, obviously we'll talk about that there, but he's constantly running and pointing in front of him. He wants the ball in these areas, and he's the kind of forward who knows exactly where he wants it. And if we've got the players that are going to put the ball on that spot for him, then he's going to get plenty for us this season. And then it just matters on who's going to contribute goal-wise amongst the rest of the team, where we could end up this season, because if we've just got Oscar scoring, we'll probably be mid-table. But your difference between a mid-table side and a top 6 side is where, your goals come from across the team. And set pieces, I do think we need to sort of pick up on as well. I think we've definitely got enough height in the team to be a big threat and scoring regularly from set pieces. So I'd like to see us improve in that sense. But
Oscar's shown he can score with his head. When you look at footage of him playing in Portugal.
Yeah, he's a threat.
That's his main threat. I'm surprised he hasn't scored he's only scored the one header, and that was like from a deflection from the goalkeeper. So, he definitely should be scoring a lot more headers. I'm just surprised how many he scored with his feet, really.
I don't think we put many lofted crosses in, though, do we, to score headers? If you look at
not yet anyway.
The goals we've scored, the kind of, the more drilled sort of low crosses that cause, a bit of pinballing in the area for someone to put away, kind of thing. And
it'll be interesting to see what it's like when players like Cynic and Pelkas are playing on the wing.
Yeah, instead. I think Pelkas is probably more of a goal scorer, cutting in, sort of having shots. I'm not like a Wilkes sort of type or Lewis Potter. I'm not sure he's an assister necessarily. But then I think Cynic is probably better crossing, perhaps. But, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, the way they've described Pelkas as an attacking midfielder on the transfer announcement, I would imagine they probably think he's better there than as a winger.
So speaking of, obviously, the supply to the strikers, I do think that in the Coventry game, both Callum Elder and Louis Coyle had very good games. I think we're starting to see Shota give him a bit more license to push further up the pitch. And obviously, 2 of the goals definitely come from, the wing-backs getting into dangerous positions and sticking the ball in the box as often as they can. And do you think that going forward, the wing-back system that we use, I'll come to you for this one, Will, do you think the wing-back system we use should probably...
I don't know, because I don't know what our full-strength side plays like.
Yeah, because I think what
At the moment, yes.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, like, obviously when the wing backs are in these positions, they seem to be sticking across in the box of a bit of power. They're trying to shoot it at the keeper almost and hope a deflection. Whereas, do you think maybe we should be trying to get it to the byline a bit more, or chuck a bit more early crosses in? Because one thing that frustrated me, I know this is from the QPR game, but one thing that frustrated me was we seem to get the ball in crossing positions and then we turn around and decide to start again, where you can see the likes of you, especially on Coyle's side, because you've got Tete at the far post, and then you've got Oscar just in front of him. So on Coyle, on the right hand side, if we're sticking early crosses in, you've got two players there that potentially could be scoring a header, and we don't really seem to be using that as a means to attack. We're trying to work the ball into the box more than anything. Do you think maybe that the style maybe needs changing up a bit, or is it just a case of
I think you need to a mixture of both, because you don't want to just rely on one particular attack, because then it's easy to read and you just keep getting it, put it back at you. You need to do a mixture of things. So while I do think we do need to do more crossing, I do think it shouldn't be our only outlet.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing is, it just seems odd that we've got a player that's got such aerial ability and then a player the size of Ben Tete, and we don't really seem to be using that as an outlet. We definitely should, I think, especially in games where we're struggling, should be playing a bit more direct. I think that the commitment to sort of the playing out from the back thing, I know we were maybe a bit critical of it last season because we didn't really have the means to play a more direct way. I don't think the ball would come straight back to us. But this season especially, I think we've got that outlet. We've got a wide target man if we want to use him. We've got Oscar who's physical enough and asks questions and can win a header if we need. So in terms of trying to change a game and maybe how we approach some certain teams, a more direct manner, perhaps, just sort of, even just to quell a bit of pressure, because I think from the most recent game, the playing out from the back thing can cause a bit of problems. But obviously, Coventry's 2 goals then. So the penalty, definite penalty?
Yeah. Given.
Yeah. No complaints on that one.
Figs didn't get the ball, did he? And the Coventry player did, and he took him out. It looked pretty stonewall to me.
If we're going to defend the Tete penalty against Bristol, you can't deny that penalty, in my opinion.
I agree. And then obviously their second goal coming from a corner. I think we've asked this on the last couple of episodes now about whether or not we've improved defending-wise on set pieces, and it doesn't look like we have, which is quite odd.
It's the same defence, really, isn't it? I guess the only difference is Figueiredo, and he's made a few mistakes so far. He's not been quite as assured as I'd hoped he would be, and hopefully he can get better. But that's still a big problem, and it shouldn't be, because we've got Figs and Oscar and Tete who should be defending them well. So it seems to be like the second the knockdowns are not getting quick enough to. That the Coventry goal was it's like a pinball, wasn't it? Not just a free header.
Yeah, I think the decision making when it comes to obviously when we've got the ball in our own box and we're trying to either decide whether to just smash it clear or try and work our way out, they've obviously been instructed to, if they see an opportunity to pass it out, then go for it. And then players maybe getting caught in two minds where in another game they'd just smash that into row Z, but then thinking, all right, Shotter's wanting me to play this. And then obviously it results in a bit of hesitancy to just sort of take command of what's going on, and it leads to, like we say, pinball and in the back of our net. But these are things that these are teething problems we're going to get with new players. I think they'll obviously they'll sort themselves out eventually when
it was set pieces against Sheffield United last season we really struggled with, so I just hope we but I just hope we're working on it before the game on Sunday. Otherwise, it will just be a repeat of last year.
We haven't got Malik Wilkes man marking Egan this time, though. So, it should be a bit different this season, unless we stick Andy Cannon on him. But
Tyler Smith or something worse.
Yes, Tyler Smith, because he's tiny. So, obviously, another good win. It put us third in the table, that Coventry win. We travelled to QPR on quite high spirits. A bit of I want to ask you about the starting lineup. We had a brief discussion about it before the episode started, but I'll ask you, Nathaniel. So obviously the team news came out. We had a certain Ryan Longman back in. Andy Cannon started. Cyrus Christie made his debut. Was you surprised then that Ryan Woods didn't start?
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I thought, I haven't necessarily seen this myself. I've been listening to a lot of the games this season, so people are going to say, oh, Williams has done well, Cannon's done well. I don't really know whether Cannon deserved to start or not because I hadn't seen the Coventry performance. But yeah, I mean, I was saying this before the episode started, that the plan this season was not for Cannon to be starting. The plan was, to have, we have 5 midfielders injured at the moment, or we did for that match. So, obviously that wasn't the plan. But, if he'd done well against Coventry, I didn't, I think, the goals we scored were from the wing backs against Coventry City. It wasn't like a brilliant move. So although Woods had played well, he'd only just come into the side. Maybe they thought Cannon would have a bit more energy, but without a very recognisable number 10 fit, for that game, I guess it's surprising to change a winning team. I thought maybe Longman would have been playing at number 10 because I thought he might have been better suited than Cannon, because we don't really yet know that's what happens when a midfielder doesn't play very well. You're not really sure whether they're an attacking one or a defensive one. I still don't think we've seen the best of Cannon, so we don't know if he's an attacking one or not. So, and then again, we changed formation to 3 at the back, or maybe we had done that against Coventry, but it's still interesting to see whether we will be sticking with 3 at the back or 4.
We certainly looked more comfortable because we started with a 4-3-3 from what it looked like anyway. We had obviously Tete, Estepinian and Longman as the front 3. Jones sort of sitting in that number 6 behind Slater and Cannon. And then obviously we had Christie, Figueiredo, Greaves and Elder as the back 4. But I don't know. We just didn't. As soon as we switched to 3 at the back, we brought Woods on. The dimension of the game. Obviously QPR will have taken the foot off the gas a little bit, but the dimension of the game just entirely changed. And I just think that, we maybe looked a bit disorganised. I know Christie kind of got chucked in sort of for a debut, a bit of baptism of fire, wasn't it? Because even like he admitted on, I think it was Twitter or Instagram after the game, he'd been training on his own in summer and he'd not had much time to train with the team. So, he was kind of just asked to play for a bit of a out of the blue injury for Louis Coyle.
He wouldn't have played otherwise.
Yeah, I mean,
we were all quite...
Yeah, we were all quite surprised, obviously, that he started. But then, obviously, when we found out the news that Louis Coyle was injured, you can kind of understand why. But then again, you could have asked questions, obviously, with Randell Williams. Now, he could have played as a wing back. We've seen him play the right wing
later on, right?
He did. He came on. He looked quite good when he came on. I'll ask you then, Will. So individual errors seems to have been a common problem throughout last season. It's kind of trickled into this season. I don't know if it's maybe a symptom of trying to play out from the back, but the first goal and the third goal were pretty much identical in the sense of Jones for the first one, messing about on the ball, lost possession, and then Chair with a very nice finish, we'd like to admit, for the first goal. And then the third one was Andy Cannon decided to try and ball roll 2 QPR players, lost the ball. And then obviously Chris Willock scored. But, these moments in games, especially that first goal, just kind of knocked the stuffing out of us. And, it's preventable, I think, which is the most frustrating aspect of it. What do we do to cut that out?
Don't be so silly on the 30 yards out from your box with the ball. Simply put, play a more simple game.
They're trying to be too clever.
If you're not, they aren't Tufan or Seri. They're not players who that sort of passing is their bread and butter. They're the sort of players that are more get stuck in and more. They're not as technical, so you expect them to do the more simple tricks rather than relying on tricks that they wouldn't normally be expected to do. I'm just rambling at this point. Essentially, they just need to just concentrate more. It's as simple as that. Just be focused on what you're doing. Make sure you're not Like the Cannon one, he had 2 players on him and he thought that was a good idea. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get that
Just
thinking.
bad decision making for both goals. They're basically exactly the same. Jones gave the ball away 30 yards out. Cannon did the same. And I guess the second one's more frustrating because you think, well, okay, we conceded that first goal. What I won't do is give the ball away in my own half.
Do it again.
And then they did. And it was pretty much exactly the same sort of finish, cutting in from the left with squaring right foot in that right-hand side. Yeah. Very frustrating. But, I mean, this is going to happen when we're not playing our strongest team. The Cannon one probably won't happen again. I don't see him playing very much when our 5 midfielders plus Simons who we've signed plus Vale come into the side.
I think obviously I'm going to play a bit of devil's advocate. I've got to ask these questions. I mean, Shota obviously wants to play this style of football where we're very sort of we don't really pass the ball about with huge sort of intensity. We're kind of a bit patient, methodical, try and play as short as possible so we keep possession kind of thing. But given that, we've got so many injuries at the minute and we're playing the side like we did against QPR, do we not think that maybe Shota should have decided to maybe encourage them to play a different way in that game? Because the thing is, for me, is that I want to be consistent in the way that you criticise managers. Shota's had a great start to the season so far, but we can't criticise Grant McCann for playing the same way in a stubborn sense and not changing it, given the personnel he's got, and then not do the same to Shota. So the question I'm asking more is, should we maybe have just decided to be like, right, okay, these guys don't have the technical ability that Tufan, Seri, etc. do to control the game, especially in the middle of the park. Maybe we should play this a bit more direct, use Tete as an outlet, just change it up a bit till we get some more players back from injury? Or is it just a case of he's sort of encouraging the players to play this way so that training's always the same?
Well, it worked against Coventry. I suppose you'd as a manager, you'd hope it would work against QPR, but the away performance has not worked. And I was just going to say earlier, away from home, we've been trying to soak up pressure and kind of score a goal with the few chances we get. But when we've gone 1-0 down against West Brom and the other one, QPR, we've crumbled. So that's certainly something we need to get better at, is trying to find a way back into the game when we haven't got the ball very much.
Because I think the most frustrating, because I went to the QPR game, which when in hindsight was quite painful, but
poor you.
It was that first half. Well, the first 35 minutes especially was just. I don't know what we were trying to do in sense. Like, we were very disorganized. It was very static. It was very negative. I mean, I'm going to give credit to QPR as well, because I did point out to Joel at some point at the first half that tactically they set up perfectly against us. They were, I don't know, they obviously did the homework on the way we were currently playing and knew our limitations with the players we had. But at times, what they would do was QPR they'd crowd out the middle, so we couldn't play. We had to play out wide. And then as soon as we gave it to a wing back, they pretty much, you could draw a line on them. They would have a straight line of 5 players that pressed and made us, go backwards. And they just did that routinely throughout the first half and forced mistakes. And obviously, they were 3-0 up. But it just didn't change, kind of thing. We didn't actively try and mix it up. And I know maybe, at half time, he hooks Longman off. And the introduction of Woods really did change the game. But there was ironic cheers from the fans whenever we had the ball. We was telling them to pass it to Ingram, because the amount of backwards passes we made was just insane. And you want to ask questions of defenses. If QPR are going to press high, then try and run in behind. Estepinion's constantly pointing in front of him, saying, put the ball in behind. I know we got offside a few times in the first half, but the Tyler Smith goal was that, great ball from Slater over the top. So, we've got to be sort of have extra dimensions to how we're playing. It's probably, I think, what I'm getting at there. Just to check on some comments, actually, because I think we've got quite a few.
Lots of stuff about the transfers.
Yeah, are we a Chelsea feeder club? Potentially.
It follows on from an awful lot of Chelsea loans we've had in the past, like Baxter, and that season a few years back with Adkins and Slotsky with Aina, Hector, and the other one.
This is a good question actually, because I was gonna ask you guys about Figs. So first couple of games, I was really, really, really high praise for Figueiredo. I liked his proper old school approach to defending. Last few games, he's slipping a lot for starters. He's finding himself out of position a lot, and he doesn't seem to be comfortable on the ball like Greaves or McLaughlin, that Jones, them kind of players. And when we're trying to play out from the back and he gets pressed, it usually causes us problems. Now, we've got obviously Sean McLaughlin on the bench. Last season, Jones, McLaughlin, and Greaves were pretty solid as a back three. I personally think Figs should come out of the firing line and we should go back to that back three for the Sheffield United game. Do you agree?
Well, I mean, I said I wasn't hugely impressed with Figueiredo, and that's the back three that did so well last year, along with Bernard, but he's not here anymore. Maybe he... Yeah, I mean, is he really?
He's meant to be going to Milan, isn't he? One of the two Milan teams.
Oh, okay. Dishon Bernard. I thought you meant McLaughlin for some reason. No. Well, maybe he thinks that Shota thinks that Figueiredo is better on the ball than McLaughlin, but then I haven't really seen much from Figueiredo distribution-wise. So, I mean, I think maybe it's a bit early, but we have the worst defence in the league. That's something we can point out. So obviously something has got to change, and we are too easy to score against. Well, in general. So yeah, I think pretty soon we'll have to start worrying about that.
We've conceded 10 goals in the last 3 games, and we're facing Sheffield United, who are on the back of a 4-0 win against Reading, which on paper is very worrying.
That's a clean sheet then.
Yeah, it's a clean sheet and a 3-0 win, obviously. But I mean, like when you compare it to last season, the defense was actually one of the rare strengths of ours. We didn't get battered regularly, and we were quite good, but we couldn't score goals.
I was about to say, could you say that the defense was a strength because we had to focus it on it as a strength?
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it.
Whereas this season, we've actually got strikers who can score goals.
And obviously, it's worth noting, I know this is a very, very easy excuse, but the amount of injuries we've got, we've probably not seen the correct system, formation, set of players that will go around. Actually,
we have not seen our strongest team at all.
Well, there we go. So
potentially we might not see that until January or something, depending on how good some of these players are.
Yeah. Happy Longman was selected to start, but then he was taken off at half-time. You see, the thing is we know what Longman's capable of, but I'm going to ask this question to you two now, which is an interesting one. Does Ryan Longman fit into this squad at the minute? What does he actually offer us?
Take it away, Nathaniel.
Well, I think that's... it's not about whether he fits into the squad, because he can play wing-back, winger,
but you got to look at it this way. For wing-back position, we have Louis Coyle, Cyrus Christie. Yeah. He's not going to get in above either of them for the wing-back. And then when you've got the attacking positions, if we play a 3 up front, or if we play with 3 attacking midfielders kind of thing, or even as a striker, I don't think he's getting in the side. When we've got a fully strength, if say our squad's fully fit, I don't think Longman has a role in the team.
Well, no, but that's the same with a lot of players. I mean, he's a decent enough option to have in the squad, definitely. I mean, of course, I'll say that, but it's a shame we've not seen the best of him, because with certain players injured, that was really his chance. But yeah, he's not fully fit. And we saw how bad he was when he wasn't fully fit last season at the very start. I remember his debut against Bournemouth, he was not very good, and that's why I liked him so much, oddly enough. So, yeah, I mean, I guess there probably will be a period in like the next 2 weeks before Cynic is back, where Longman will probably be fit just around the time Cynic comes back, so maybe he's got a chance then to push on. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shame that at the moment our wingers are injured, but then even the backup players aren't really stepping into that position, because neither Williams or Longman has been able to keep that place in the squad yet. Although we'll see, maybe he plays on Sunday.
I think with Longman is he's not fully fit yet, which I think that needs to be remembered going into it, because like everyone was saying about Christie, everyone was instantly said, "Oh well, he's not fit." Well, Navas Longman, so
But he played 10 minutes this season.
But then the argument would be Randell Williams is fit, so why didn't he start?
I would say that he should start.
I thought Williams would have started, yeah.
Williams looked very bright when he came on. I think
I
the thing
thought
is,
he had
Williams
no end product though. But
yeah, but that's what I was going to say. Randell Williams and Andy Cannon are very similar to me. They both will come on and give you 110% to the best of their ability, but the best of their ability is not championship standard.
Yeah, 100%.
So they're going to look bad. Yeah, because they physically aren't capable of doing any better. They're going to run and graft the socks off for the team. I don't think anyone disputes that. It's just that the technical ability or the end product there is not necessarily for the level that we're currently at. Randell Williams, probably a League One standard player. Andy Cannon, I'm not sure, League One, League Two, maybe. He went on loan to non-league last season, which, maybe suggests something. But, I think
he goes
he's
to a team that still on the league, to be fair.
Well, yeah, but he still went, if he was, League Two or League One standard, you'd have thought we'd have tried to send him to the highest possible
They stopped steamrolling it when he went there, actually. The second half of the season wasn't as strong.
Yes, so that's not much of a...
it's a bit harsh on him, perhaps. But...
yeah, but it's just, it's unfortunately, I just think that, that we're just lacking in a couple of areas at the minute. But I just think the surprise, obviously, for Cannon to start above Ryan Woods, who is obviously fully fit, and how good he was when he came on. I mean, we'll talk about Ryan Woods, actually, because he's got a bit of a Tom Huddleston-like standard of player about him. When he came on, all he did was sit deep, encouraged 1-2s, made himself available, and was looking for them runs in behind out wide. It found, pretty much every single pass, long diag that he tried to Tete or Randell Williams when he came on was pretty much, probably 95% passing accuracy. The guy started asking questions to QPR, he stretched them. Obviously encouraged by Shota to play a bit more direct in the second half because it wasn't working in the first. Definitely a nailed on to start against Sheffield United, Will. Do you think Wood should be in there?
Oh, definitely. Well, depending on who's fit, because I know they keep saying, "Oh, Seri and Tufan aren't fit. Oh, they are fit. Oh, they're not fit. They're not fit. They are fit." Depends on that.
Two fans reportedly available, but I don't know about Seri. There's a couple of weird rumours flying about that his head's not in the right place or something. But
that's just that's just
exactly
rumor,
what it is.
isn't it?
But that's just rumours. I won't even look into that in the slightest.
Now, nothing confirmed by it. But
I won't even bring it. I won't even brought it up.
Yeah, but it does seem odd, obviously, that they keep saying he's going to be back for this game and then he's not, kind of thing. There's obviously maybe the injury's worse than they thought, kind of thing, but it's just the lack of communication that feeds rumours into it that, you can kind of put to bed with a quick.
Yeah, we're frustrated they're not playing because, we're doing slightly, not as well, and we want to see these new players come in. I think even if Tufan was fit, you don't want to risk anything, bring him on later on, perhaps.
Dedication, I like that. Thank you, Kirst. But I mean, the thing is with the QPR game, I just think highlighted a couple of. Even Estepinian wasn't sort of free from a little bit of criticism. I think that opportunity he had where Tete squared it across. I think it was Elder ran into the box, wasn't it? And he was tackled, and it fell to Estepinian in the centre of the goal. And if he puts it either side, that's 2-1.
It's a very big chance.
It was a big chance.
Should really have scored. I mean, we can't criticise him too much because he has scored so many.
Yeah.
He's going to miss one at some point. But I thought we had a very decent spell for about 10 minutes after we conceded the second goal. I thought we were the better team. The Greaves had a chance back post. We had that Estepinian one. Tete got in behind. We definitely could have got back into the game at 2-1 there, or made it 2-1. But then we didn't, and then the rest of it was a bit drab.
I mean, that's enough about the QPR game anyway, because it was poor. So we'll move on from it.
Stop being depressing.
Yeah, we'll have a look at Sheffield United, which promises to be a good game. 18,000 tickets sold so far. Obviously, that I would imagine includes Sheffield United tickets. I know the West Uppers not really sold many. They're probably
It's funny considering how many people for some reason were clamouring. We're not coming back until West Uppers available.
The one block in the middle of the West is red, and then the rest are green. But obviously they're, like we say, on the back of a resounding 4-0 win against Reading, who were top of the table at the time. Genuine top 2 contenders. They've got the likes of Ollie McBurney back scoring again. Plenty of threat in the team. You know, I think the most interesting one now, obviously because of today, is the starting 11.
Don't even bother asking because no one has a clue.
But it's not what we're going to do. What team would you pick, Will? What would be your starting 11 going into Sheffield United?
I don't know who's fit and who's not.
Don't know who's fit. There's very likely to be at least another 8 injuries before, Sunday. So
I don't know who of the new signings are fit and how fit they are and any of that sort of thing.
Yeah, quick mention for obviously Tyler Smith's goal as well. He is that kind of striker that wants to run in behind all the time, and I don't think we've had a standard of player that will play that pass to him. I do think I've looked back at it a couple of times. Us in the ground were quite astounded that he was onside. I think, especially for the amount of times that Oscar got caught offside in the first half, trying that same.
He was onside.
He looked very, very close.
It is close. It looked like he was miles off during the game, but
if you freeze frame it just as Woods is about to hit it, it looks like his head is slightly further forward. But these
championship sort of you can accept that without VAR.
Yeah, without a VAR, so fuck it.
Yeah, it was a great ball by Slater, though.
Yeah, really good pass from Slater, who I think was probably one of the rare few from the first half who could actually say, I actually busted got out there today and tried in the first half because I think there was a few lacking in the first half. But Slater sort of tried to take the game by the scruff of his neck in the second half as well and was putting himself about a lot. Definitely a prize commodity in the middle of the pitch is Slater, isn't he? But Sheffield United, I think it's interesting because I do think we're far more comfortable with a 3 at the back. And I personally think that Figs needs to come out of the firing line. So I would probably... I think I'd perhaps even bring in Baxter just to freshen it up, just to change it up. Because I think Baxter commands his box slightly more. And when you're coming up against a team like Sheffield United, they're probably going to pepper the box with crosses and set pieces. And not to say that Ingram obviously deserves to be dropped because he's had a fantastic season. There wasn't much he could do about any of the goals at QPR. But sometimes it's just that mentality change. Put Baxter in, drop Figs.
Well, that's what happened last year. Ingram didn't deserve to be dropped. Then Baxter came in and did even better. That could happen. But I think dropping, arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the league, if not the goalkeeper who's had the very best start, would be a bit off. But perhaps I've never really seen this. Like the only goalkeeper I remember actually having proper good distribution that was notable was George Long. I don't know whether Baxter's distribution is a whole lot better.
It's better than Ingram's, but I think Ingram's a better shot stopper. So they've both got qualities about them that, if you could combine them, they would be the perfect goalkeeper. I just don't know. I just think the fact, obviously, we're sort of leaking goals for fun at the minute. Just to change it up at the back, just to sort of reset a couple of players back in that zone.
I think swapping out one of the centre backs would make more sense than one of the goalkeepers.
Fair play. I'd personally start Baxter. I'll come to you in a minute. Start back.
I think there's a more obvious substitution to make in there, and that's Woods into the midfield. But
we've not got to the midfield yet, Will. So I'd start Baxter, and then I'd have my back three as Jones, Maka, and Greaves. I'd bring Coyle back at right wing back. Callum Elder. Very good game against Coventry, but I think QPI, he was very frustrating. I think the problem with Elder is, and I said this to somebody on the bus on the way back, is the problem with having Ben Teta as your winger in front of you means you're not going to get much protection going back because he's not the quickest. And positionally, he's not going to be as good. And he's not going to run in behind as often because he's not fast. So when Elder's running down the line trying to ask questions and look for that ball in behind, especially against QPR, I saw it. It's tough for Elder to try and balance. He don't want to commit too high because he knows he's going to be vulnerable on the back. and then if you don't commit high enough, we don't ask enough questions and get the ball in the box. So maybe when the likes of Cynic and that come in, where it can be, because his combination play with Lewis Potter in League One was great. That interchange, the KLP would run back and obviously support him, etc. And I know Tete does try that, but he's not. He's a big striker. He's not going to be 100% defensive all the time. But against QPR, Elder for me was just too negative. There were times. There was one time that sticks in my head. He was literally in a crossing position on the edge of the box. We had 3 players in, just stick the ball in. We're losing, just put it in there, ask questions, and he decided to turn around and he gave it to Greaves, and we ended up back at Ingram, who then kicked it off the pitch for a QPR throw-in. And it's just like, how do we get from a position where we could have been sticking the ball in the box to a QPR throw-in on the edge of our 16-yard? It's just, it's confusing and frustrating at times. And I think I'd personally tried Williams with him being left-footed on the left-hand side just so he can get to the byline and put crosses in. So I'd probably go with, I think my starting 11 is going to be quite controversial. So I'm going to go for Baxter, Jones, Maka, Greaves. Then I'm going to have Coyle and Williams as the wing-backs. Then I'd have Woods, Slater. And it's hard because we don't know if Tufan's back.
This is what we said to you at the very start.
Pelkas won't be starting. He won't be starting.
This is what we said.
Like he's fit to play, but not to start. I don't think it's not going to be too much.
I'm just trying to figure out the side that I don't have to put Longman in.
Right. Just work out the side without new transfers in there that have been done today.
There's not much you can change from the QPR. Perhaps swapping, if you go for the same starting lineup as QPR, but swap Christie for Coyle, Williams for Longman.
It's not really
Woods
the same lineup then, is it?
Woods for Cannon.
That's a fair of the lineup change, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, but obviously in terms of the starting 11 and the bench combined, it's the same squad, isn't it? It's just swapping the starters for the couple of bench.
Well, I imagine the bench will have the new signings on it, is my thoughts.
Yeah. But Woods definitely needs to start for me, and I think Williams was bright when he came on.
Well, essentially what the there would be my 11, essentially.
More like it was when we ended the game.
Essentially, yeah.
Would you start Smith because he scored?
No,
I wouldn't.
It depends. If you play...
No,
it wouldn't really be effective as a winger.
And calm down. We're not going to start Tyler Smith. We've got the top goal scorer up front. We'll be fine.
You usually...
it's better coming off the bench.
You usually reward a goal scorer with a start, though, don't you? I think the club were probably planning on sending him out on loan this window today, probably. But
I don't think they are.
Given the injury situation, I don't think they can.
I don't think we're sending anyone out because of the injury thing. I think January is when we're going to send people out.
A couple of the youngsters have gone out, haven't they? Snellgrove and Mills, I think.
Yeah, and Jeff and Mills.
But in terms of first team, I don't think we can probably afford to let any go until January at least.
It's a shame, really, because a lot of these sort of fringe players will not play very much now, really. And then they're hardly going to play in a few weeks when all our players are back. So really, even though they have to be here now for the next few weeks with the injuries, a lot of them are going to be leaving in January and they're going to be thinking that about 6 months of their career has been wasted.
Yeah, because... When obviously the majority of the players are back in the squad, the likes of Cannon and possibly Williams probably won't be anywhere near the starting 11, I'd imagine, and will rarely make the bench. And we're obviously out of the cup as well, so they haven't even got that they could play.
Yeah,
that was probably a blessing, to be honest.
Oh, thank goodness! Yeah, thank you, Bradford. Smallwood doing us one last favour.
Bradford game that was probably a blessing in hindsight.
Yeah, because we would have got battered by whoever came up next.
Blackburn, we would have had.
Right then, so we will go for score predictions then. Will, what's your score prediction?
Since we can't seem to defend, apparently, but we like scoring, 2-2.
2-2 draw.
In confidence in her.
Yeah. Nathaniel?
Well, I mean, the first 6 games I predicted would be a draw. Then against QPR, I was about to say we were going to, on the preview, I said we were going to win or lose, and I changed it to a win. I'm not going to do that. I think, we concede, but we're scoring. I think Sheffield United will have too much, but I think it could be an entertaining 3-2 defeat.
I was actually going to say 3-2 as well. I said 3-2 on my prediction that I've sent to Sheffield United pod. I think the good thing is that our squad is weak at the minute, but we're still scoring goals.
This is a thing.
Yeah.
We have the same number of points at the moment as Preston. Now, would you rather have been watching Preston North End with their 0-0s after 0-0s, or us with goals? I think we've had the most goals in the Championship Hour games overall.
Yeah, we've got the best value for entertainment in the league, obviously.
Absolutely.
The amount of goals.
I would always rather play Kevin Keegan football than anything else.
It's a bit Leonard Slutsky, isn't it? Because I feel like at the moment we've sort of got the Shotters had the same sort of dilemma that Adkins had. When Slutsky was sacked, it was because we were screwing but conceding too many. Shotter came in, made us hard to beat, and there were lots of 0-0s. And now we've gone the other way. And I think it's the sign of a good manager, a really, really top manager that can, change it so you start to score, you stop conceding, but then the positive side, which you already had sorted, keeps on going well. But at the moment, we've swapped it round, but we've lost the solidity at the back. So, I guess I just said Shotter's not a top manager, but he's obviously not. He's obviously not a top manager because he's here. He's not winning Champions Leagues, is he? So
it was 33-1 for the Bournemouth job at one point.
Why?
I don't know, but he was on there.
It's like I will always take a team playing fucking, like I say, Kevin Keegan football.
Yeah, because you're more likely to do well. Style. You can't get into the playoffs like during 0-0 every week, but you might be able to get a good run with just a few goals and get a few players scoring, and that's more exciting. So we've got the potential to do better, and we'll have more of the ball with the new players back. We should concede less.
I think the interesting thing to note about this as well is that we've scored the amount of goals we have, and we actually don't create that many chances. So we've been very clinical with the chances we've had. I think we're actually like, if you want to get your pointless expected goal stats out, with something like 23rd, aren't we? The amount of shots per game we have is something like we average 3 or 4 shots on target per game, and we're like the 3rd highest scorers in the league. So we're not creating many chances.
On XG, I've only just realised that expected goals, like my app I use, FOTMob, has us at like 8th in the table for expected goals. There are different numbers, different websites.
Right. Expected goals is bullshit. Stop going on about expected goals.
It's one stat you can use, but you shouldn't just use just that.
It's overused so much by everyone now. It's like this fucking amazing stat that suddenly appeared. It means fucking nothing.
Yeah, because QPR beat us by
like
0.3 XG, but they were clearly much better than 0.3 of a goal than us. So
I think it takes into account, doesn't it? It takes into account the quality of chances, number of chances, shots on target. I don't know how you can accurately predict what's a better chance than another or something like that. I don't know how they work it out, but
that's where you got to use it along with other stuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to reflect the amount of goals you should have scored based on the chances you've had in the game.
It's like saying, oh, they had 80% possession, they should have won comfortably, and they lost 1-0. It's a bullshit statistic.
Yeah, but then that just means that you can take away from that is that they played better than
the only stat that matters is goals scored. End of.
It does matter, Will, because I play Football Manager and I get an XG of 3.4 and I lose 1-0.
Football Manager real life?
No.
It is to me. It is to me.
You are a sad bastard.
But it's just a stat that somebody's added in, and it
tries. It's a stat, but the problem is everyone goes fucking mental over it suddenly. It's lost all meaning.
My stepdad listening will appreciate this because he hates it.
It's bullshit. It is absolute wank.
To be fair, I think I've not met a single person who thinks that it's worth taking seriously ever.
I take it seriously, but not hugely seriously. But like, I think I think it's based off, because they wear those tracking things, right? It's about where it's not like the likelihood of the chance. It's more, this is the amount of goals that have been scored from that position based on however many thousands of goals these tracking things have shown. But the thing is, like,
they wear them to track how far.
No, I think how else would you know how? But you look on the stats and it shows you where the shots have been from.
It's data collectors from the stands.
Yeah, you can't use it just expected goals. You've got to use it with other stuff. So yeah, if it's like an extremely low number or an extremely high number, sure. But if you're haggling over 0.10s, then it doesn't really matter.
For the audio listeners, Will was very annoyed at that.
I would like to put everyone onto an article by Luke Flanagan of the Tigers Blah podcast about XG. Just go on his Twitter and find it. That pretty much sums up my thoughts on it. If you don't have time to read about it, fucking shite. Pretty much. And my feelings on XG, I just don't get it.
Well, if you don't get it, then it's not for you, then, is it?
I don't get the point of it.
Right, we've spent far too long on XG.
Yeah, let's move on.
Right. We've got a couple of score predictions in. Lee Walker, 2-1.
Oh, that would be nice.
That would be beautiful. There would be absolute pandemonium in the stadium. Woodford would not be happy. 2-2 draw. I would take a point. Lots of goals.
I really hope Slater scores no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Just
4-2.
Just to rub it in.
Don't think there is a standout team up to now. There isn't a specific standout team, but that top four look pretty solid. Sheffield United.
What a boring top four that is. Can I do a weekly, complaint about parachute payments?
Yes.
I mean, they're rubbish. Move on. They're ruining the competitiveness.
Yeah,
It used to be. Yeah, it used to be that literally anyone could go down or get promoted from the Championship, whereas now. Although, of course, you can't have a great season every year because you'll go up. You can have a great season every 2 years.
Teams have sort of found a semi-loophole into making money constantly that puts them ahead of everyone else in the Championship.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because they obviously introduced it because it's a symptom of the increased amount of the insane amount of money that is pumped into the Premier League that increases every year. So you look at, the Premier League at the minute, TV rights, sponsorship deals, the amount of money that teams can now afford to spend on transfers, etc. Wages are now silly high. And then that means when teams get promoted, in order to compete, you have to spend money to do that. But then spending money means that you have to spend more on wages and transfer fees. And then as a club, you're then, your expenditure goes up astronomically. And if it doesn't work and you still get relegated, you're screwed. I mean, obviously, you can mitigate that by, certain contract clauses like wage drops and things like that. But, realistically, are you going to sort of recruit the top talents if you're saying, but I'm going to stick a relegation clause in there?
It'll be very interesting to see what happens to Nottingham Forest because, parachute payments won't work with them. If they go down there, they're gone. Or they should be gone, really.
Because, they would have been in trouble had they not gone up. And then so they've essentially spent all the money they got for promotion.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
I've already seen that earlier today on transfer deadline day. They signed Josh Bowler and instantly have sent him out on loan to Olympiacos.
What?
Yeah, who is worth
noting is by the same people as Forest.
That's ridiculous. But why bother?
But it's a similar thing that as Watford. Similar to us, really.
Watford the transfer that you're referring to was dodgy as fuck.
The Watford have been doing it for years.
Oh yeah,
but
they kind of had quieted down for a bit, and then this season, what was the player who went to Udinese and then got loaned back?
They sold him and then loaned him back so that
it could Kamara
FFP, yeah.
Maybe.
Which I think is very similar to Derby selling their stadium to Mel Morris to get around it.
Yeah, there's lots of ways around it.
But
I think it's good.
Derby haven't got away with it, have they?
No.
But in the letter of the law, Udinese and Watford are two separate entities owned by two different people.
That's the thing.
so you can do it. So if Udinese ever ended up in financial trouble, they could sell like 5 players to Watford if they wanted and get around it. It just seems like a bit of a loophole that I don't think the EFL ever expected to really have to deal with. But if it increases...
On a last note on parachute payments, and then we can move on to something more City related. But obviously you need them because you can't just have every relegated club going bust, like 3 clubs going bust from getting relegated every year. But obviously the safety, the financial security of clubs getting relegated is more important than just competitiveness in a league. You'd rather have the teams staying, financially stable than not existing and other clubs getting promoted. But yeah, I think just because of how much money is being pumped into the Premier League, I think they do have
it's an unfortunate side effect
advantage.
of the Premier League increasing that gap between the rest of the Football League and just becoming its own entity.
And the world.
Chelsea, Man City, etc., they'd be happy to just have the Premier League and nothing else, wouldn't they? Let's be honest. I mean, they all tried to join the Super League kind of thing. The rest of English football, the Premier League itself is just sort of in its own world and doesn't, it's all about that global coverage, TV rights, etc. So the amount of money, but Football League clubs coming up will struggle, have to spend money, and therefore the parachute payments were brought in to steady that ship if it doesn't work. But at the end of the day, you should really have an owner that ensures your financial safety for when you're going down. You should be spending within your means, not beyond. Recruit better, invest some of that money in better scouts. You can invest it in different ways, can't you? But yeah, like I say, we'll move back on to obviously City related stuff, and it is transfer deadline day. The window shuts at 11, so we've got.
I was going to say it is currently, as we're recording, 8:57 p.m.
Yeah.
So anything that happens after now is we're sorry for that. We don't say anything.
So obviously today, I'll get my pictures up because I might as well since I've got them. Adama Traore, who's been here since the beginning of the month. Into the month before, actually.
I think we should have saved that for 11 o'clock.
Yeah, just so. I guess you want to start the day off, get people interested, and then you can, build up to the other deals.
You should have built up to a big one and it'd be Traore at 11 o'clock. I think that would have been a good laugh.
I think it's interesting that he's obviously had signed the contract since like July. So it's interesting that we've announced him before the transfer, deadline. We didn't necessarily have to, but it's interesting that we just didn't, because he's still injured. He's going to be injured until Christmas.
Yeah,
why didn't they do it ages ago?
I'm wondering if he's not going to be injured till Christmas.
I think he probably is.
I think he is, but I feel like we weren't going to announce it until January, but we've just decided to now. And it might be because
possibly.
I'm just speculating that he might be available earlier than we thought. I don't think it'll be massively earlier. We've got the World Cup as well in the middle of that. That'll take off a big chunk, but he might be available when we come back from that break.
That'd be good.
Rather than at Christmas.
He's another one, obviously, that's got international and Champions League experience. He's an attacking midfielder, so he's going to be mixing it with the likes of Tufan, Pelkas, etc. Probably another dimension to add to the team when he is available, when we see him. Like we say, it's been a bit odd that we've waited so long to announce him. Maybe the club were waiting to see how serious the injury was before fully committing to it.
That's why I'm thinking he might not be. He might be back earlier than the thing. Maybe not massively early, but maybe just a bit.
Yeah.
It is funny that we moan about the midfield, but when you look at actually what we've got available when they're all fit.
But it's just very Hull City, isn't it, that we've got an injury crisis and we announced the signing of an injured player. Just it's especially this season, madness. But obviously, possibly the first of 2 youngsters from Chelsea today, Xavier Simons. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about him. It's the first time I've heard of him, and the first rumor I think of him was today, and we've already signed him. So it must have just come straight out of the blue. I
get the feeling it was one of the hidden ones that Baz has been on about.
Yeah, he's apparently a midfielder that can play as a defender, he's played both.
He can play anywhere on the right, essentially.
Yeah. They've announced him as a defensive midfielder, so perhaps they're looking at pushing Jones back into defence and using him in that number 6 for the time being. But again, a player that we don't relatively know much about.
Like I say about him playing anywhere on the right wing, you could argue we need more. I know we've just got Christie as well, but you can argue we do need depth on the right wing.
Yeah. And then obviously the big one that we've been waiting for a while, he was watching us at QPR. He was there in the director's area. Greek international Dimitris Pelkas. Pretty much play.
Somehow that game did not put him off signing.
Yeah.
Well, I think he probably already signed.
Yeah,
I think he had,
signed
to be fair.
And he'd probably turn into Adjin and saying, what's happening here? But he was pictured, he did some pictures with fans, didn't he, before the game at Loftus Road and everything. So we all knew it was coming. Gives us Europa League, Champions League, international experience again. Signings like this in the Championship, I think Pelkas is going to be one of the best signings of the window.
Yeah, this is one of the marquee ones, along with, just judging by how good Tufan's been, and he's, the best he's played is at Fenerbahce. Same with Pelkas. If he's anywhere near as good as Tufan, he'll be one of the best, because we think Tufan's one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. He'll be one of the best wingers, and if we have both of them, because they've played together before, yeah, that's a terrific signing.
Yeah, and obviously they played together at Fenerbahce, didn't they? So they'll already have that understanding, and hopefully that partnership on the pitch will reflect. I imagine Sinek, Pelkas, and Tufan as the 3 behind Oscar. The potential is very dangerous. Loving life already. For the audio viewers, Nathaniel's showing us a picture of Tufan putting his arm around Pelkas at
They're bezies.
training ground.
They're at a restaurant.
Are they at a restaurant? Are they on the marina?
Not a clue.
I think it was
I can't tell by the cutlery where they are. Was it Brewdog? Maybe Camel's taking them out.
No, that's Callum's place. It was. I think it was Dirtburger.
Dirtburger.
Okay.
I bet that do better than Bournemouth. Overall the transfer window. So let's, in terms of, we're potentially announcing the signing of Harvey Vale. By the looks of it, he was another youngster from Chelsea, attacking midfielder. Again, not going to pretend to know anything about him. As Chelsea
he was their young player of the year last year. He's very highly regarded. They just signed a 4-year contract with him, so they clearly have faith in the man going forward in terms of keeping him.
Yeah, I think these academy players we've signed, Salah from Arsenal, who's very highly rated. Arteta wanted to keep him. Simons was the captain for Chelsea. And you've just said Vale was the player of the year for Chelsea's academy. Yeah, I think, it's very difficult to tell just how good academy players are coming in because, I think before we've signed some loan players from Chelsea and other big clubs. And obviously, if they're coming to us, especially under the Alam era, they can't have been that highly rated. But then Harry Wilson was, immediately one of the best wingers in the league, having played no professional football.
Yeah.
So
the thing is with young players is they can have all the potential in the world. They just need to be. It depends how you manage them.
Need to be loved.
On loan spells, especially, they need to be obviously able to play it in the way that they want to, and they need to have regular first team exposure to obviously get that experience, get that learning curve on. But my question would be to signing someone like Harvey Vale with the options we've got in attacking midfield already and us being out of the cup. Like what game time is he expecting to get? I can't imagine Chelsea would sign him, let him go out on loan if he's not been promised to play fairly regularly. But
unless there's more injuries later on in the season ahead of this crisis we've already got, I don't think it's going to be a fantastic loan move for Simons or Vale because they're not going to play. And then Salah's not permanent option, so maybe he sees his long-term future here. But even still, I don't necessarily think they're going to be playing. It's not like under Adkins where we had 3 Chelsea defenders in the back for the whole season. But maybe they're great, which would be nice.
Yeah. So obviously, we're judging him before even seeing him, but it's like I keep forgetting that we've got Doherty to come back from injury, and you've got Salah, who had my hand that we signed as well as to add to Pelkas, to add to Tufan, to Seri, to Slater, to Simon.
I feel like we're going to try and play one of those fucking formations from the 1930s where you played 2 defenders and 9 attackers.
Yeah, just 2-9. Yeah, just go out. He'll probably just say shut up before the game, because just be like, right, just play where you want, guys. Just have it.
It has been very fun on FIFA because I've been adding the new signings as we've gone, and I was just playing with Hull on FIFA, and I had all the players fit and available. I was playing 5 at the back, then 5 up front. Maybe we could go for that. Yeah, 5-0-5. Usually you play 5-5, and that's a defensive formation. This one I had no midfield. It was it didn't
at least
really
do a
work.
4-2-4. Put some balance in there.
Yes.
So we've made 16 signings. Is it in total?
We will.
And if the Vale one goes through, it isn't official yet, but it will.
So I'm going to test you both. Can you name all of our signings? Go.
Yes.
Go.
We're not going to, but yes,
do it.
Obviously. All right. Do you want me? Do you someone time me? Go on. Get your time out. Give me a minute.
No. Why don't we just take it in turns? See if we can get them all.
All right. Well, Baxter.
Yeah.
Lurtatala.
I'd forgotten him, so I wouldn't have been able to do it. Figueiredo.
Traore.
Christie.
Pelkas.
Ozan.
Seri.
Tete.
Salah Ulat Miand.
Simons.
Vale.
He's not signed yet.
Yeah, well,
he's part of the 16. He'd be the 16.
Oscar Stepinian.
Ali on permanent.
Ryan Woods on a permanent.
Who else is left? How many have we said? Actually, that's a good point.
I don't know. We should have been counting.
I
don't think we've said
that.
I don't think we've said.
10, I think.
I don't think we've said Cynic.
No, we haven't said Cynic. You just gave me an answer there. Thanks, Cynic.
Cynic. Who else is there? This is difficult, really. Maybe we have said them all.
And you said yes with such confidence.
Well, if I'd done my way of going through from goalkeeper to striker, we'll mess that up. So I would have got it then. I think that might be most of them. Pelkas.
No, I remember a couple more.
Go on.
Kerville.
Well, yeah, that was what I was going to say. He hasn't actually. I don't think they've been saying him in the 16 because it was an academy signing initially. But because we signed him from another club, even though it was their academy, and he's played for the first team, he is a new signing, really.
I think we've said pretty much near enough all of them.
I can't think of anyone else.
Either way, yes, and we knew them all.
Yeah.
Up yourself.
So we're not. So we're pretty much certain that if Vale signs, that's us done till January.
They've said it'll be one more signing, but don't rule this out.
That's Vale, though. That's the thing.
When Ronaldo's contract gets terminated at 11 o'clock, Fenerbahce have been linked with him, but maybe we'll.
Adjan would probably try. I don't think he'd succeed.
No, but honestly, though, I don't know how true this. Well, it's not true, obviously.
I mean, we're not in the Champions League. Why would Ronaldo join us?
Kemar Roof was mentioned in a couple of tweets as a possibility.
Right?
Anwar El Ghazi, before he left for wherever he went, we were supposedly in for him on loan, but he's gone somewhere on a permanent. I think he's gone somewhere on a permanent. Joel tagged me in it yesterday, but I'm relatively happy if this squad's fully fit. That is some squad for the Championship. I think when we had that evening with Adjan and he said he was going to get 8 to 10 players, and we've ended up with
I was at the press conference 2 or 3 weeks after that, and he said 2 more signings, and I think there's been 6 or 7 since then. It's ridiculous.
He loves it, doesn't he, Adjan? He probably comes in and goes, nah, I'll get another couple. And I think injuries have probably forced it as well, to be fair. But a very successful transfer window.
And what the main thing to take from it as well is that entire transfer window, we've made £6 million, technically, net spend.
From the transfer fees, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's closer. Yeah, but that's pretty good, and keeping hold of Greaves is great. And
that might be the biggest one. To be honest.
A lot of people were obviously worried that the wage budget will have been silly, and that FFP may be an issue. But I think that because of the last few years, we've had such a tight wage budget initially that I think I'm sure we had the second lowest wage bill in the league last season, only higher than Blackpool. So we must have had, quite a bit of room to put bigger wages on offer because, more so than other championship clubs, for example, who probably average wages like between 10 and 15,000. Ours was probably, 4,000 or 5,000 League One wage kind of thing.
Did we have the second lowest wage bill in the championship than we last season?
Yeah, only higher than Blackpool. So, we've had a lot of room to wiggle in terms of wages, I think. There'll probably be a bit of...
If that league table had numbers on, then towards the end of the evening, I'll probably do some made-up maths and add 20 grand for each of the big marquee signings and see whether that actually puts us anywhere near the top.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we can get confirmed what wages Seri and Tufan are on, for example, because it's probably...
It can't be that much, really, I don't think.
I reckon 2025.
I think
which is
at
a
max.
big increase from what we had, but is probably normal for the championship.
And Greaves will probably have had a nice wage hike to stay.
He'll have had it increase to equal that.
You hear things. You hear things about some of the wages at Derby and Stoke and like 40 grand for championship players, and so we can't be very high. That's been rubbished. Sorry, Alex. No, Kawasi. I don't think we're getting another winger other than Vale. I think they've said one more signing and that'll be it, but that's still a bonus. Just another good option to have.
Do we think then that this is the best transfer window we've had in years?
I hate that question because it how the season goes.
I think
I remember 2014.
Yeah, that deadline
that was a good transfer window at the time. I think you have to rate it at the time.
At the time, we would have said it was great, and now you'd say it was wank.
Well, I'd still say it was I'm still saying even though that didn't work out well, I judge it as it feels at the time. I think this is definitely the biggest. It's a bit unfair because this is definitely the biggest improvement we've had in one window. Of course, it's going to be
the biggest overhaul
because we had a League One squad.
That's it. It's an overhaul.
Yeah,
it's just a complete upgrade in standard, isn't it? We've gone from a lower championship, high League One standard squad to at least mid-table top 10 standard championship squad.
Here's a question, maybe you'll think it's a really easy one, but do we have a better squad now, or do we feel better about the squad than we did in 2017 when we just got relegated to the championship? We had Grzycki and Bowen, but then we had spent a lot of money.
We had Slutsky. Oh, that's a good question. I need to look at that squad. I would say yes, but that's maybe recency bias.
Yeah, because at the time we thought, like Dicko, Kingsley, Terrell, Irvin, those sort of people, Stewart. We spent more then than we did this year. We've spent about 12 million on fees. We spent about 16 then, I thought. So I think maybe I felt better about it then.
This is probably
than
better,
now.
but I get where you're going from on that.
But we've had to do an overhaul because it's got worse every window since then.
The Leonard Slutsky summer window wasn't actually that great because if you remember reading some of the comments that he did about his time at City, he had made him a lot of promises that he didn't come through with, i.e., I'm going to hold on to your best players and you're going to buy some. And then apparently when Slutsky went into, was it Portugal, where he had the pre-season that time, every time he came to training, he had another player saying, I'm off, see you later. And he then wasn't also, them funds weren't reinvested in the side. We kind of had our pants down with the Kevin Stewart deal, Andy Robertson. We sold Klukas for a good fee. I think he went for 15, 17 mil, didn't he?
That was good,
Curtis Davis, Tom Huddleston went for less than $1 million. Andy Robertson went for 9 million, but we signed Kevin Stewart for 6. So,
something like that.
That really wasn't very good.
Maguire went for a shockingly low amount.
Maguire went for...
It was about 15 or something
15
like that.
million. Yeah. But then we also only signed, players that were 1 to 2 million or freeze and loan. So we got like Oleraina, Tomori on loan, which, in hindsight was a great signing, but we didn't utilise him in the way that we should have done.
Played him at right back.
Yeah, we played him at right back for some strange reason. But I don't think we didn't have a good window. That window, the squad was more that it was capable of far more than it did.
Yeah.
But the window was not.
I just mean we've had to do a big overhaul because I feel like every window since then the squad's probably got worse. Like we didn't do as well that season, but we've lost these players eventually, and they've all gone for free. So we had to build it up from a League One kind of bare bones squad into something else.
I don't think Andre Ayew and William Carvalho would have been realistic signings if.
No, we were in with them.
I know, but I don't.
Well, Andre Ayew would have been. He went to fucking Swansea.
Yeah, I remember Charlie
but he was
Austin failing a medical as well.
Well, we were in the Premier League in 2014. We were in Europe in that summer transfer window.
I think the signings Marco Silva was able to bring in even when we were like bottom of the
like Ranocchia and Markovic.
I think that showed just how, even with the signings we made in that 2014 window, just the caliber of players we seemed to bring in our situation then that Silva brought showed that we really didn't have much ambition. Like maybe we could have got those players, but we didn't really, or Hull wasn't as attracted to those sort of players as it could have been, even under the Alams. We had good years, but it wasn't. We never fulfilled the potential in the Premier League. I think now, if we're signing these players in the Championship, one day if we're in the Premier League, we're going to have a lot of pull because Adjan has a lot of contacts and Tan and stuff. So it would be another exciting one if we went up, but that's a long way off.
Yeah, he certainly has something about him, Adjan, that can obviously convince players to come and join us. And when you're a club like Hull City, which is seen as rather unfashionable, it's nowhere near London. It's out in the sticks. It's hard to recruit that quality standard of player. And I think having an owner like Adjan sort of supersedes that and would ensure that if we ever did get back to the Premier League, we'd have seen probably some of the highest standard of players we'd signed in a while.
Have we missed out on using the foreign market a lot then? Because is it perhaps because we're in England that's an attraction to a lot of players immediately, isn't it? Whereas we've been just trying to sign players from within England, and they're not going to see us as attractive as a team from London, for example. Whereas Cynic,
I think the difference is
club in England comes in, and he's whoever it is, he'd be excited.
I think the difference is that in the past, you've kind of had to find players from abroad that are more of a gamble. Like, I'm trying to think, Altidore, Proswich,
Milinkovic, Mazuch,
Sagbo, players like that have done okay in the leagues they're in and could possibly transition into, the English game and maybe didn't so. Whereas the difference now is that Adjan can literally recruit some of the best players from the top Turkish sides, etc.
Yeah, but to be fair, we're all saying this hypothetically as well. This lot might all be shy for all
they might be.
Well, that's true. We already know a few of them aren't because
I've got more confidence.
You say that a few of them we know that aren't. I knew Hatton Ben Arthur wasn't shite when he joined us in 2014, but he hadn't scored on the City shirt.
He hadn't scored 7 goals in August, to be fair.
I mean, I've got more confidence in the signing of Pelkas to become a good signing for us this season than the likes of. I'm not going to say Diamande because he was the king.
I don't really think there's a club in England that some of these players would be better suited at than us because of the Turkish connection, because of the Fenerbahce connection. They've come because of that. Pelkas hasn't come to Hull City just because he thinks, it's a good opportunity. He's coming because Adjan has convinced him, I think.
It's quite a good discussion, this. I think we should consider doing an episode where we talk about some of the best and worst transfers that City have made. I think that'd be quite an entertaining one. Because there's not much more really that we can say about this window. We've got so many players still to come back. We're yet to see the full potential of this squad. The capabilities of some of the players we've signed are up there. And, if everything goes right, we could be in for a playoff chase. But, realistically, mid-table should be the aim. And it's easy to get carried away in it when we get a couple of good results and overreact with a couple of bad ones. But as long as, we're in a position where we're far better than we were last season, There's not much really we can complain about, is there? And I think by January time we'll have a realistic. I think the January window is going to be very interesting, because it depends. Have we got, the means to make signings in January?
I don't think so.
The squad's already full, isn't it?
I'm
sure. I would argue we're not trying to sign anyone in January.
No, but that's what I mean.
It's done now.
Yeah, so he's trying to bulk up the squad so that in January we'd have to do the panic buys, the overinflated.
So, because normally in January, like you say, you have to pay more.
Yeah.
I think if we had the finances to pull off some big transfer fees, we would have done that. But I think the 3 we've done pretty much got us to the fee we got from Lewis Potter, and then since we signed Cynic, was that our 3rd transfer fee player, or I guess Woods, but that probably would have been small. We've been trying to do obligations to buy and that sort of thing, loans. So I think maybe there'll be 1 or 2 in January, because why not? You're allowed to do that, but yeah, it'll just be adding to.
January will be more of an outgoing window, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there won't. The players will be back, and there won't be space for Cannon or Smith or similar players.
Or Longman.
I mean, possibly. You never know. Well, no, but is he going to play above? Do you think he's going to play above Cynic or Pelkas?
If I was Shotter and we had the means to send Longman and Smith out on loan today, I would have done.
Yeah, I think a loan would suit him. That'd be fine.
Tyler Smith, I think there's a player in there. He needs to play regularly.
The problem Tyler Smith has is he is a Alan Grant signing. He would never have been signed by Shotter and Adjon.
Yeah, they'll probably be looking at feigning out all of the past regime players at some point, barring your Jacob Greaves that can make the grade.
I think the best way to look at that is the 8-0 against Wigan. I think there's only Callum Elder now in the squad.
Oh, I tell you what, we didn't mention Callum Styles, did we? We were rumoured with him, potential replacement for Elder. Seems to have gone dead though. There's been no mention about it since. Obviously the Barnsley wing back, very good player. I'd have taken him. They're obviously in League One, so you'd have probably jumped to the chance to come back.
I
to
don't think we need 3 left backs, because Elder's not so bad.
Yeah, but imagine Styles and Fleming as your left backs rather than.
Yeah, Fleming, but then you can only play 1.
You can.
Yeah, I'd rather just play Fleming.
Yeah,
but you got the same issue with Coyle and Christie. You've got the same issue with all of the midfielders.
I'd rather just play Coyle.
You'll eventually have the same issue with Estepinian and Tete.
You've
got the same issue with Baxter and Ingram.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an insult. I think it could be a bit of an insult, no matter how well Tete's done, because he's done very well. But if he is a 6'4" target man centre forward playing at left wing, and you're not going to play an actual winger there, I think Pelkas and Cynic would be a bit annoyed, a bit miffed, really.
It's like, he's to say like, oh, I'm going to drop Ireland at Man City for someone else. No, you're not.
Comment for Nathaniel.
Oh God. No.
Ben Woodburn.
No, maybe he'll be so bored at Preston from doing 0-0, he'll just want to come sit on the bench and watch us instead.
Apparently a 20k attendance on. Is it Sunday?
I think that's just a hope, isn't it?
I'm sure it's 18,000 was the last.
Which is very good.
Unless he's adding
the 20k is a good shout, maybe when it comes to the day.
Yeah.
Styles, no, he's a left wing back / midfielder that plays. He's Hungarian, I think. Didn't he? Played against England. Played for Barnsley last season, a couple of seasons. He was very good in the season they finished in the playoffs. The whole squad struggled last season, obviously, when they got relegated. But he's definitely, a natural wing back compared to Elder. I think Fleming, obviously, is waiting for his chance to come back. What have you seen?
Interesting. Breaking news. Nottingham Forest have signed their 107th player.
Was that Batshuayi or who? Who is it?
I'm taking the piss, but it probably was Batshuayi.
I mean, we can't really say much, can we? We've signed loads.
Yeah, but we haven't spent 180-odd million quid either.
Or the equivalent in the
Should we have a quick note actually as well on Halil Dervishoglu, or however you pronounce it?
He's gone to Burnley because they didn't offer an option to buy.
But we got told that he wasn't coming up to us because Brentford didn't want to get rid of him. And then Brentford got rid of him.
That's what I mean. He didn't get an option to buy with Burnley. We wanted an option to buy.
That is very dodgy. I think that's a bit... I mean, we don't really know what's gone on, but I would have thought it would make more sense just for Adrian to say, oh, okay, that's fine, we'll have him on loan, because he's better than Vale, who we're getting as a replacement, I guess.
You don't know.
Oh, potentially, but you'd think so. Because really, option to buys are good, especially if it's a young player who you think will cost more next year. But really, I think if you have had a good season, especially if he's had a good season here, the option to buy is just the fact he's been here for a year and you'd want to sign him anyway next season. So I would have just taken, because you don't know what's going to happen in a year. I think you just take him now with a loan, but it's a shame we've missed out. But maybe he's crap.
I think the most confusing part of it was that I'm sure that what I read report-wise was Brentford wanted him as part of their squad.
Yeah, but they clearly don't.
It was nothing to do with the option to buy. It was the Brentford said, no, we need him.
No, that's my thoughts, that. The option to buy thing. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
we're actually losing fully.
It's odd that they were like, no, we're not going to sell him to you guys because we need him as part of the squad this season. Then Ben, you're like, oh, what about that?
Go to Burnley.
And they're like, yeah, see you later. Bit odd, especially since there's in the signed KLP from us. That we should have had Halil come to us as part of the KLP deal.
Yeah, it would have made a whole lot of sense. Yeah. But I
now,
guess maybe that money wouldn't have helped us with financial fair play. We would have had a smaller fee. Yeah, and then Burnley have been linked to a fair few players from Turkey as well, like we have. So I feel like
maybe that's why we're starting to keep players' names under wraps, because we just don't want Burnley's scouting network to just sort of piggybacking us.
Yeah. I think that's wise to keep your names under wraps anyway.
Well, yeah,
unless we almost had it with Seri.
Yeah. Unless the agent leaks it, it's usually a case of it gets leaked intentionally to bump up the price of the player into it so they can get offers from read that Burnley paid 750k for the season for a 2.5
the loan fee. Yeah, maybe that was also a case. They paid more up front.
Yeah, perhaps. But why didn't they just say the reason is you didn't pay enough for the loan fee rather than we need him as part of the squad and then send him out on loan the next chance they get? It's just weird. I don't think they signed anybody in.
I don't think you ever want to say we've been priced out of a loan deal. That doesn't sound good, does it?
Right, unless so we've had nothing Harvey Vale wise, have we? Officially yet? We've got a lot of reports saying
it's still an hour and a half, and then an hour and a half to go on into the early hours anyway.
Yeah, the paperwork can be done. It just think he's done it. So I think that's pretty much covered what we can do for transfer wise. A lot of signings that we're yet to see play. That it's exciting to see them come into the squad. It's exciting to see what this Hull City squad's going to be capable of this season. Hopefully, we're at a point in January where we're really strong. We've got a full team back, and we can sort of see a successful season coming on. The attendances at home are going up. The atmosphere is going up. Even away travel, I think we've had some good numbers this season as well, haven't we? The Cardiff Swansea one's going to be interesting because 2 trips to Wales with a home game in between is just insane to me. In 1 week, it's just utter madness. The amount of travelling you've got to do in the space of 7 days to go to.
So the fixture list comes out though, isn't it?
Yeah.
The issue there is the Swansea game being a midweek game. It's just bullshit, and then being put on telly.
Yeah, and I think the charging the ticket prices are quite high as well, aren't they? But in terms of what else we can mention this episode, we're pretty much done. Obviously, Sheffield United.
It's not a midweek game; it's an early kickoff. Ignore
that. Yeah. We will before we wrap up. Obviously, you will have seen we announced that we have signed up to be part of the talkSPORT fan network, which means basically that we can just partner up and use each other's content. It doesn't mean that we're changing anything, so don't worry. It just means that we have an extra logo on a couple of pieces, and nothing's changing. A couple of ads on your audios. I believe the video content's untouched for the moment.
Does it mean Jamie O'Hara is going to appear on the podcast? Because if it does, I'm out.
I think that's within our power to decide, isn't it, Will? So if
you're just joking, aren't you, Will? Anyone listening from talkSPORT, he doesn't mean that.
Yeah, we love Jamie O'Hara, promise. We'll kick Will off if you want us to. obviously, another reminder of the FTAs. If you voted so far, thank you. If you haven't done, head over to our link tree to find the link to vote to do so. Thanks to Pearson's Bar and 6 Yards Out for being sponsors. Partner up with the Amber Circle, obviously, so do join them on Facebook. We've got the raffle going for one of our home podcast shirts at the minute, where you donate to Andy's Man Club. So all of the money is going straight to the charity this time. So if you want one of them, go across to there and join. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Nathaniel, for joining us. Hopefully, a nice positive podcast the next time we come round. Have we got any other videos planned for this week? Was you doing a transfer thing tomorrow, Nathaniel, or a preview?
Well, we've done that, I think, today, really. Yeah. We covered it.
So will you be doing a Sheffield United preview, perhaps?
Perhaps. Never say never.
Perhaps. Keep your eyes peeled. Obviously, you'll be notified if on the channel if we're doing a video tomorrow. It'd be a pretty packed week of content if we were to do a video tomorrow, but we'll see. And thanks everybody for listening, and we shall definitely see you. I would assume next Thursday again, same time. I believe
same back time, same back channel.
Bingo, yes.
Yeah, and we will say goodbye. I think that's pretty much me done. I can't actually
goodbye.
Can you find? Right.
Want me to end the broadcast?
Yes, please.
This is very professional.
My
this is the